You are listening to the Cattle Call podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your joyful and informative host, and with me is my partner,
Rocco, the tall, dark, and handsome host.
Apparently delusional is a word he doesn't understand, but that's okay. It's not going to save him. He tried to be fun today, which I appreciate, but you still get to suffer through the engineering joke of the week. All right, Rocco, you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
All right. What is the software engineer's life mantra?
I don't know. What is it?
If at first you don't succeed, you just call that version 1.0. There you go. There we go. All right, folks. So we have some old friends back on the show today. Tim Yarris, who is the Senior Product Manager for Civil 3D, and Ramesh Sridharan, the Director of AEC-Building and Infrastructure Design, both over at Autodesk, are here with us again today. So, guys, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Always a pleasure when you guys are on. So, these...
Uh-oh. Sorry. Every time I talk to folks, when they say that I listen to the podcast, they say the cattle call exactly the way you say it.
The cattle call. Hey, at least somebody's listening. I'll take it. It's good. I thought it was just Rocco and I talking to each other, and you guys were silly enough to join in.
Yeah, they're like, I send you a cattle call. I'm like, okay, I see. They're listening, yeah.
That's cool. A good thing. All right. All right, so these distinguished gentlemen are here because it is April-ish. And it's that time of year again when the latest release of Autodesk products drop. In particular, right, for my mind anyway, the Civil 3D 2026 release is here. And we're going to let Tim and Ramesh tell us about, all the cool new features and tools that we're going to have at our disposal. But first, as we always do, let's get them both to introduce themselves to our new listeners. So, Tim, why don't you tell folks about your background and what you handle over at Autodesk?
All right, will do. So I started at Autodesk, almost 20 years ago, back in 2006. So it's been a while.
So you started when you were 4, right?
Yes. No, 5 actually. I look a little, But anyway, so I bounced around between a whole bunch of different roles over the years, and I mean, all of which have been on the Civil 3D product teams, which has been kind of a cool ride. So, but as senior product manager for Civil 3D, I'm responsible for the product roadmap and really the product's overall success for the past 6 years. So it's a good place to be.
Not a bad place at all. And it's been very successful. I like what you have done. It's good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, and anyway, not blowing smoke here or anything, but there was a longer period of time where a lot of the Civil 3D upgrades in the path were not well thought out and considered, and that has changed since you took over dramatically. So good work.
Thanks,
Hi,
man.
Tim.
Yeah, thanks. We've come a long way.
That's it. All right, so Ramesh, it's your turn. What should folks know about your resume and work over at Autodesk?
Absolutely. I wrote a 10-page essay about myself. I think I've been meaning to read about it.
I think go to it. Go to it. I'm going to take a break.
I'd like to know what he does now, honestly.
Obviously, he's writing essays about himself. That's what you're paying for.
All right. I'll go for the shorter version then. I lead at Autodesk had a couple of things. I lead a reality solutions team. They're based in Singapore and UK. Fantastic folks. And for the Recap Pro product development. And I also lead the Autodesk S3 relationship and development process as well.
Well, there you go. That was definitely not 10 pages.
I know, man. It's hard to make it short.
He's good at editing. Apparently, he should be an editor in his life. All right. So look, guys, I am always like a kid in a candy shop, right? Whenever you show up to tell me about the new stuff for Civil 3D, right? It's one of the nicer benefits of, the subscription licensing model that we always get, newer, better, faster, more fun tools to play with on all of our jobs. And today I'm going to focus on some high level 2026 stuff, right? But just so that everybody listening knows, both Tim and Ramesh have agreed to do additional podcasts with us over the next couple of weeks, where each of them will be able to focus on their primary areas in the infrastructure space and how 2026 improved those, right? So for today, we're just going to stay at the high end. So Tim, let's start there. What are some of the key new capabilities in Civil 3D 2026?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, there's a bunch of great new things in 2026, and there's way more than I'm going to be able to cover here. So I'm just going to touch on a few, and then we can, of course, kind of come back and dig in a bit deeper on some of these things. I mean, first off, the last few annual releases of Civil 3D have really been, I mean, arguably somewhat light on some of the new capabilities, just because the annual release has been kind of setting the stage for new stuff that's been showing up in the updates. And this year, we actually have a great bunch of new stuff right out of the gate with 2026. And I mean, over the past few years, whenever I come on your podcast, you've heard me say that we focus really heavily on making Civil 3D faster and users more productive. And that's definitely been a big theme for the 2026 release as well. And I mean, on the faster side of things, we spent a lot of time making overall surface performance better, making calculations and rebuilds faster, and reducing the lag that sometimes occurred when you would just move your mouse over a large surface that had tight contours on it. And it kind of felt a little sticky in the past, but in 2026, it's really as smooth as silk. And what else has there been? I mean, the AutoCAD team alone has helped us in a big way on the performance side. The work they did in 2026 made even just opening complex drawings based on their analysis, their open time is 11 times faster between 2025 and 2026. And it's just blows my mind.
That's a huge jump.
It really is, and it's not just blowing smoke. It's legit. So definitely encourage you to check that out. Back to Civil 3D surfaces, I'm going to touch on the fact that we're letting you reduce the amount of surface data that you have to reference in. So if you have like this giant tin surface that you create a data shortcut to, and you really only want a data reference in just a smaller area of interest, you can use a closed polygon to reference in only that area of surface data. And this is going to make the drawing smaller and more performant, which is always a really good thing. And then last thing I'll touch on super quickly, way more stuff that I could get to, but on the productivity side, one of the really exciting new capabilities that we launched in 2026 is this new model viewer. And so think of this as kind of similar to the old object viewer, but it's light years ahead. It's a modeless window, so you can kind of peel it off and dock it onto another monitor, and then continue to work in your drawing while the model viewer is open. And so you can kind of selectively add and remove objects that are displayed in the model viewer. It's got a really slick interface to let you do that. It uses the latest AutoCAD graphics engine, so it's super performance, and the level of detail in it is just amazing. It gives you a great view into how the pieces of your model relate to one another. And I mean, I hate to toss around the terms game changing, but people all over LinkedIn and different blogs are using game changing to describe it. So I'll take that. It's kind of cool. But
that's a nice compliment.
It is. I think so.
Well, take it when you can get it, man. No, the things like that are actually, it really is an impressive thing when you can see your adjustments and your modification design happening in like a 3D model in real time. It really is game changing. It's impressive stuff. Everybody needs to check that out. And so Ramesh, what do you see kind of as the key upgrades in Civil 3D 2026 that benefit, the reality capture side of the house where you live?
Absolutely, man. It's game changing. So the features that Tim was talking about, and not just on 2026, even the path the Civil 3D has been in the last couple of years, especially last year, this year, the geolocation aspect, the speed, and all those things helps a lot of the reality capture workflow. So because whatever we do, it has to come to Civil 3D for the detailed design. Civil 3D is the hero. It has to do the authoring process and everything. Reality capture give you all those ingredients to make that happen. So having that workflow work hand in hand with it, make the designers to get their job done is definitely a big piece of it. Couple of highlights I would say is the geolocation, speed. I know I said couple. One more is the Dynamo aspect of how using the Dynamo to customers customize the way they want to and use it. Those are all fantastic. I hear a lot of good stuff.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, yeah, I'm always looking for, the new design tools, right, that come with each release. And there are some, nice additions to Civil 3D this year that I think are going to have a really solid impact on the industry as a whole, as well as a bunch of improvements to existing tools and processes that I really think all users are going to like. So, Ramesh, what's entirely new in like Recap 2026 that people should be looking for?
Absolutely. We're talking about the past one, right? Recap 2024 was more on the cloud-based visualization. The data management, all those things are taken care of. 25 is more on the scan to design, exactly how the design elements can go into Civil 3D. 2026, even though a lot of those performance, a lot of enhancements happen in the scan to design as well, the key feature for 2026 is scan to BIM. Not just every users want just the 3D geometry. There's a big workflow on the BIM modeling, 3D aspect as well, and civil infrastructure, the buildings, and the MEPs, and the list goes on and on. That's the latest one in the Recap Pro for end-to-end scan to BIM workflow for civil infrastructure and the architecture piece. And it got the local scan to mesh. It got a lot of features customers been asking for a while. And we've been working in this cloud-based stuff, so we put a pause on that. Now we got a great opportunity to add it, like the local mesh generation. We have a cloud one already, cloud service. Now they can do it in locally. Recap Pro comes with its own mesh editor, so customers have more ways to, customize it for their own projects. And we consolidated Recap Photo and Recap Pro into one as a Recap Pro, so easy for the user to access it. And way more, like a scan groups and adaptive feature extraction for detailed design that goes into Civil 3D, visualization aspect. Oh, and the cool part is what we call as a real view streaming. When you put it in the cloud, when you see the images go from one image to another, and you guys know this, when people collect the data nowadays, the images are huge. When I say huge, for the image aspect, like sometimes 10 MB or 20 MB each image, so it takes time to visualize it, right? The latest one makes it really, really smooth. I compare it with the Google Street View because people understand that when you click this Google Street View, you go from one location to next, how it kind of carries you through to that location, how you have that immersive feeling. That's exactly the way what we implemented real view streaming in Recap. So now when you're walking through virtually in your project environment with the real views, you're going to have that nice, smooth transitions, make your job much easier. So these are the few things out of a lot of stuff that came out in Recap 26.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait till we get into you. We're going to do your thing. I want to talk more about that scan to BIM because that's a huge thing. Our client's been looking for that for years, waiting on you to drop that out. So when we get into the detail one, we're going to definitely talk about that one.
Yep. So
Tim, right? Civil 3D has added what you guys are calling a tech preview of drainage analysis. So can you explain to everybody, what does that actually mean, the tech preview, and where is your team kind of headed with this?
Yeah, so the Revit and AutoCAD teams have done tech previews before, and this is actually our first for Civil. A tech preview essentially is a wide open public beta that's available to not just a select few group behind a curtain. This is available to everybody. So anybody that can, anybody can download it from your account as an extension to Civil 3D 2026. And it lets you provide feedback on some new capabilities that have gone through the beta process, but we're still kind of buttoning up a few gaps, but we still want to continue to get feedback from a lot of people before we roll it into the product as a first-class tool set for Civil 3D. This tech preview, it's got both analysis capabilities and it's got some design capabilities to it. On the analysis side, it lets you run an analysis on a drainage system using Autodesk modern info drainage analysis engine that's actually hosted in the cloud. So you're going to launch it from within Civil 3D. The analysis runs in the cloud and the results are returned back to Civil 3D, all without any kind of import or export or without ever having to leave Civil 3D. So it's something that you can just leverage from within Civil 3D without having to learn an entirely new product. And then on the design side of the tech preview, this tool is going to let you design ponds, open channels, and underground storage devices that can all be included in that overall drainage system, and then take part in that analysis on the cloud, of course. I mean, typically it's a big deal when we add a new object to Civil 3D, And with this, we're actually adding 3 all in the same shot. So it's a really, really big deal. And again, this is a preview that we want to continue to get customer feedback on. So folks, please, when you download Civil 3D 2026, download this drainage analysis tech preview extension and let us know what you think so we can continue to make it better.
Nice. Yeah, that's big stuff. So we had a bunch of clients, particularly with the underground storage stuff, that will just jump at the ability to really be able to, model that and analyze it right from inside Civil 3D. That's going to be huge. So,
nice. Yeah, now's the time to jump.
Yeah, cool. I'm definitely going to look at that one. All right, so Rocco, so talking about we're doing the annual updates. We do this with the guys every year. How important is the annual update process to our clients in the infrastructure space, right? Do you find that everybody looks forward to these new tools, or do people still get nervous with change?
No, I think it's been changing over time. We do obviously a lot of consulting work here around Autodesk solutions, and one of the questions that I always ask is what version of the product are you guys working with? And years ago, it's like people were like 3, 4, 5, 6 releases back, and as we ask that question now, I find that they're either current or one version behind. That's a good thing, because it goes to show that not only are they taking advantage of the benefits that they have available, but they're putting the money that they're spending in the annual subscription to use, right? So being current is important. It's not always so easy to be current, right? Because the industry is thankfully very busy. But folks they value the fact of being current and all the new features that these great guys are adding in and gals are adding in every day.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of what I see too. So I tell you folks, one thing that I have just always loved about working with Tim and Ramesh, right, since they kind of both took over the lead for the infrastructure space over at Autodesk, it's been their very careful attention to and the integration of ideas and feedback from actual users, right? Way too many software developers out there forget about the real world users who work with these tools every day, but these guys never do that. So Tim, what are people, right, real people, users, saying about the 2026 release so far?
They're saying really good things, actually. So, and it's real people too. So like I said, really. So like I said, I mean, I've seen a few posts on LinkedIn and blogs that are calling it game changing. So, I mean, that's a great sign. I mean, I'm super excited about that. People are really impressed by the model viewer, the performance, and also where we're going with drainage analysis. I mean, people are excited that we're really heavily investing in like building out new capabilities in Civil 3D and kind of getting back to our roots on some of the land development stuff that the drainage analysis tools are really participating in. So I'm really interested in hearing what your listeners have to say about it. So, I mean, folks, get on there and like keep us posted on what you think.
Nice. That's it. So Ramesh, I mean, you do the same thing over on your end, right? How do you encourage users to kind of engage and give you feedback to the development team, right? So that, they can draw, your attention to what are the most important user issues.
Absolutely. I think Tim kind of covered it nicely too. In general, Autodesk is a customer company. We are really trying to listen to the customers in different avenues, ITFs and other aspects. And pretty much we can say, maybe Tim will sure agree with me, is almost everything we developed or developing in a roadmap, it's all coming from the customer feedback. If you see something in the product, it's pretty sure that someone else like you asked for it and liked it and they requested it. So that's the way we kind of listen to them on the sprint reviews and all those stuff. And I forgot to share this with Tim before. One of the I was meeting with some customer. They mentioned that the way we are doing it in civil infrastructure, they call it as a luxury experience. If you buy a luxury car, it's not just the engine is great engine, but the whole experience of purchasing, using, getting it, onboarding, on maintenance, all those stuff, that whole experience happens to be luxury. That's why you call it as a luxury experience for the car. Kind of similar thing, what we're trying to do in our product side as well is it's beyond the product. The technical great. Obviously, our development team does a fantastic job. And from our side, for example, the recap side, what we call as the great treatment is the learning content for them to catch on, they can understand it, and there's a detailed documentation, not too long, not too short, the recap forums and recap idea forums, weekly newsletters. So the list goes on and on, like inside the factory. And obviously, Tim and I have a lot of direct sessions and one-on-one discussions with the users to understand their pain points as well. So it everything comes together, making the product good for the customers and getting those great praises like a game changer and everything. And there are different ways to give a feedback. So I would really recommend the users to reach out any of these avenues. They can use even the public roadmap is available, all those places where give us some feedback. We are willing to listen, and we always active listening.
Yeah, you guys do a great job with that. So, all right, folks, tell you what, let's take a break here so we can get in a word from today's sponsor. But stay tuned. We're going to get into more on the Civil 3D and recap 2026 systems with Tim and Ramesh. Stand by, folks. We'll be back in a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's episode of the Cattle Call Podcast is brought to you by Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. We're bringing ourselves to you. Aren't we nice? So we wanted to talk to you guys today about some of the things that we offer at Zentech Consultants. In particular, we wanted to talk to you today about our offerings around developing and upgrading your CAD standards. We are here to help you guys with all of your CAD standard needs, from ongoing drafting and design support to block and library development, full CAD standards development, right, CAD version upgrades, really whatever it is that you guys need when it comes to developing, implementing, and tweaking your current CAD standards. Or like I said, if you don't have any yet, we can help you build them from scratch. So Rocco, why don't you tell all the good folks how they can reach out to us and start that conversation?
Yeah, there's a lot of information, people, on our website, zentechconsultants.net. That's ZENTEK consultants.net. Or you can give us a call, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
Ooh, nice. CAD standards from Zentech Consultants. You're listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. We're talking with Tim Yarris and Ramesh Sridharan of Autodesk about the recent drop of the Autodesk 2026 version. And the infrastructure tools in particular, right? And, Tim's the Civil 3D guy, and Ramesh handles all things reality and GIS related. But, they both overlap pretty heavily these days, right? So it's nice to have both of them here to answer questions for us. I'm always interested in kind of the driving factors of each year's upgrades and what, besides the user's needs that we talked about in the first half, what drives those changes, right? Sometimes we see big shifts in the driving concepts between releases, and I'm wondering if we're going to see any of that in 2026. So Ramesh, how does the 2026 release differ from previous versions on the recap and GIS end?
Absolutely. We are trying to make this, what I call it, as a fundamental paradigm change for the modelers and architects, any 3D modeling folks across the industry, even beyond civil infrastructure, work with the reality capture data. So far in the industry, right, even now, before this release, people collect a lot of point cloud, and they are huge, gigabytes, terabytes. That's not a secret. It's open news. And those points, they have to get it into some desktop product or even the cloud for that matter. Then you have to manually trace it. But at the end of the day, it's great for visualization, great for design verification, but they are still millions and billions of points. But the customer collected this for some information that delivers, right? If you just use your visualization and stuff, then where is that information goes from there? And it's also not a scalable solution because point cloud technology is getting bigger. Like I mentioned before, like real views, images are getting bigger, point clouds are getting high resolution. So it's going to get bigger and bigger moving forward. So it has to be a scalable solution. That's exactly what our team was thinking. What can we best serve the users to use this reality capture data? That's where we came up with this segmented mesh workflow. People have been using meshes before. That part is not new in the industry. But what is new is that mesh is no longer just for visualization and a backdrop for you to do other things. It is actually an actionable item. You can actually take it, convert that into an object, and you could use that object for a variety of users. And now this helps a lot, because if you are a designer, you are a modeler, when you look at the point cloud data and kind of interact with them as the objects you are used to, you are familiar with, you are expert at, now their point cloud is speaking their language. So far it's other way around. Customers have to become a point cloud experts to work with it. It can only go as far as it can go. But in this case, now the point clouds are becoming what the customer wants in their workflow, kind of aligns with their expectations, and use it for direct workflow aspect of it, like be it made design or modeling or asset or whatnot. That makes it a big difference. So that's what our customers are saying so far. This has been the beta for last 4 or 5 months at least, even before that. The feedbacks are fantastic, and we can't wait to have this thing released. And one thing I would say is we are trying to make sure the point cloud is no longer an expensive commodity. If any company, any users listening to this, if you guys are shying away from point cloud for it's too big, too hard to handle, and now it takes a lot of resource to do it, not anymore. We are changing it. We're on a good track. I'm not saying this release just takes care of every single thing. It's that there's a magic pill or something. I'm not saying that. You know what I'm saying? But it gives you all the fundamental foundation for users to start using the point cloud. Things will get better and better moving forward, working closely with the users like you.
Nice. I like that. All right, so Tim, on your side, right? Same question, really, but more focused on Civil 3D. You know, what's the difference in the focus this year versus previous releases?
Yeah, so what's different in Civil 3D 2026 this year? I mean, we're taking kind of a new look at how users interact with Civil 3D and their projects as a whole. The model viewer is one example of that. It really flips the script on the design process by really unlocking the 3D part of Civil 3D, right? You don't have to keep like flipping between 2D and 3D to see the relationships between objects and how the model's really coming together. I mean, with some of the old workflows that we had, you either had to have like the old, like a separate 3D viewport open that was kind of laggy and showed everything. But this time it's, I mean, the model viewer gives you a ton of really great control over how you're only seeing what you want to see in that model viewer, and it's like updating with them as the model changes, like with really super quick fidelity and everything. So great tool. And the analysis part is also a new approach for us. Autodesk has a great set of just overall water analysis and hydraulic modeling tools that we really wanted to let people use without the typical import and export workflows, and also without having to learn an entirely new separate application or risking data loss between those couple different platforms. So really just letting you stay in Civil 3D, but take advantage of parts of a powerful hydraulic modeling and analysis tool is a great way to help Civil 3D users get their work done. And I mean, I mentioned earlier that we continue to focus on performance. So while it's not changed in focus, it's still very important to our customers. And I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that we could possibly make Civil 3D fast enough for anybody, but I mean, we're doing our absolute best to just make it faster year to year. So still something that, I mean, it's not a change in focus, but it's definitely something that we're not kind of lifting the pedal off the gas, or our foot off the pedal, basically.
Yeah, there's no way we'll ever be fast enough. You're absolutely right on that.
Of course not.
But you know, until we get the giant red easy button like Staples had, where you just smack it and your whole job is designed for you in 3 seconds, someone will still complain. All right, folks.
Yeah, but then we got to get our hand faster onto that easy button too. So I mean, it's never enough.
Yep, exactly. That's it. And you got to speed it up so it's automated and AI runs it, so you don't have to push. It's the next step. So at least you understand your customer base, Tim. That's good.
We do.
All right. So, you know, one of the real benefits of getting experts like these guys onto the podcast is it's a chance to get some solid, workable tips on best practices, right? That they've either designed for in their new release or if they just seen clients make really effective use of. And I think that's always a plus for listeners to this show. So Tim, any tips for Civil 3D 2026 users, right? To kind of get the most out of this release?
Yeah, just use it. I mean, just download the new version, install it. I mean, don't stay on an old version of the product when we've made so many great enhancements to it. The work we've done just really makes the tasks that you do every day just faster. The great thing about these performance enhancements that we've been making is that there's nothing to learn. I mean, it's free money. But getting your hands into it and just providing feedback are great ways to get the most out of not just 2026, but also, I mean, the versions that are still yet to come. So, I mean, just takeaway here is just stay up to date on the latest versions so that you can just reap the benefits of the new tools and the faster performance, and participate in tech previews and the beta programs, and just let us know what your experience is so we can just keep making things better.
Nice. I will throw my own opinion on top of Tim's there. Everybody listening, the model viewer, people, you got to do it. You got to use it. You got to learn it. You got to work with it. Things like that. Well, it is, just an absolute difference, 100,000 times difference in how you work. It's the tool I think that you guys all need to take time to work on. So there's my opinion on the new release and what I've seen.
Your opinion matters to me, Jim.
Can you tell Rocco that? Because he does not believe it.
I'm going to stay on that.
There we go. All right. So Ramesh, what about on your side of the house, right? What best practices, I guess, should people focus on for the 2026 release?
Best practice for the new ones. Follow your podcast. That's a good start.
That's a great start. But they have to pronounce the name of it properly.
That is true. That's a key part there. So yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm not even joking. To follow the podcast, because we talk about a lot of stuff that helps user to onboard with it, and which takes them to link like a lot of stuff like a learning content, the curated list. We pay a lot of attention to that part because, like Tim was mentioning, sometimes people don't upgrade to the latest version. Is it a new stuff? Is it going to take a long time for me to onboard with it? I have to, trial and error, all those things. You don't have to. You can take all those guesswork out of the stuff. We have materials, learning.autodesk.com, put in your product. It gives a list with a curated list. So it walks you through what needs to be done. So we are really trying hard to make those options for the users as easy as possible. And on top of this, follow us in the upcoming webinar. There are a bunch of webinars coming up, both on the Civil 3D side and the recap side. So definitely follow up on that, and we'll keep updating those information. And now that we are posting a lot in the LinkedIn group, there's a reality capture LinkedIn group. If you're part of that, you'll get all those updates. I just posted last week about the latest ones as well. So yeah, and there are a variety of ways to do it. And as always, you can reach out to me and the reality capture team if they need anything. And Jim and Rocco, they can reach out to you too. You guys can help too, right?
We always
absolutely.
Nice. That's great. So Rocco, what do you see from clients, right? What do they feel is more important in these annual updates? Is it like getting tips like these guys are providing online and showing them how to do things and the best ways to work? Or is it the overall new tools and features that people are looking for?
It's a combination, right? I mean, people want to get the value of what they're paying for, because Autodesk software is certainly not cheap. But they also want the helpful tips, right? Because it's you got to stay current with it, like we've been saying. It defaults so far behind, and then all of a sudden, okay, now I'm 3 releases behind. How do I catch up? That's a process, especially if you're busy. So I think it's a combination.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so even though the new release, right, just dropped, I know that both Tim and Ramesh's teams, they're already hard at work on upcoming patches and updates and versions and so on. And I'm just kind of curious to know what these gents kind of see on the horizon, both in the next few months and maybe even for the rest of the year. So Ramesh, what's next on the to-do list for your staff?
Absolutely. So one thing I'll continue with what your previous question that kind of leads to this too, is what users can do with this latest version. Like I mentioned, the segmented mesh and mesh-based workflow, definitely leverage that. That helps thinning down the point cloud into intelligent format, and it helps you with your modeling and design workflows. Meshes are no longer eye candy. It can do a lot like change detection and things like that. I have a motto with myself. I tell our users to work smart, not hard. This is the smartest way to do it, and definitely helps. The reason I'm saying that is that's kind of like a foundation for the ongoing to-do list part. because a segmented mesh is good. You can do a lot of stuff with it. It actually, the latest recap 2026 comes with a corresponding Revit plugin also. It automatically installs it. You can actually use the mesh right into Revit for your Revit modeling. That process, we want to make it more smarter, more innovative and intelligent aspect of it, so that users can actually, get an object-based workflow, let software do the heavy lifting part. And this opens doors for many object-based workflows that can be AI automated. That's the key thing. If you have a bunch of points, it's hard for me to identify what AI piece of it. People can use, I can throw fancy words like a deep learning and all those things. At the end of the day, I'm just giving a bunch of points and expecting some magic happen in that black box. But if I have object-based workflows, even though it could still be a black box in the deep learning, it can do much better job on the AI automation. So those are the ways we are actually trying to take this to the next level, purely from the scalability for the future technology development perspective. We can foresee that from next 5 years, 10 years, customers are going to build harder projects, there are different challenges they are going to face in the civil infrastructure and other cases. And you can see that a lot of companies also working on that part. So the technology we are building today, speeding up the product performance, this mesh and everything, is kind of helping today's audience need and also setting the stage for the future, so that we can do a lot more stuff. Like I said, this should encourage all the users who are already using point clouds to switch to this optimum workflow. I'm not saying throw away the point clouds. Check this out. Check this mesh, segmented mesh piece. You might like it. I guarantee you will like it. And if it doesn't, let us know what piece you didn't like it. What can we make it better, so that we can make it, optimum for you guys. Autodesk got your back.
Nice. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I think that is absolutely just the right way for you to go with kind of taking the point data to generate solid editable objects. I think it just closes the gap from like GIS to infrastructure to architecture, and brings everything into like one integrated design. That's just going to be such a difference in how we work. I love where you're going with that. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Tim, what's the next big set of goals for the Civil 3D group?
2026 is out, and I mean, yeah, Jim, like you said, I mean, we are well on our way. We're already hard at work on what's next, and so it's really exciting. But our goal really is to continue reimagining how people use Civil 3D and really how they design civil infrastructure in general. I mean, Civil 3D is a mature, powerful product that has a long life ahead of it still. And we're really focused on just giving users fresh ways to use it and make their designs come alive without making it even more complex than it already is. So, I mean, in the next couple of years, count on seeing better collaboration capabilities, both between civil users and even across disciplines. You're going to see more in-context analysis capabilities and some ways to model civil infrastructure projects in a way more productive way than you could when Civil 3D first came out almost 20 years ago. So it's exciting times.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, pointing out that Civil 3D came out 20 years ago, you're making me feel very, very old since I was...
Tell me about it.
I was part of the original beta program for that. It's like, oh my goodness, that's terrible. All right. So, as always, folks, I like to give our guests, the chance to get in something else that they'd like to talk about that I did not think to ask them. So I'm going to ask both Tim and Ramesh at the same time, right? You guys have been on the show plenty of times and down this road with us, so I'll let you both answer any way you like, right? Together or in order or not at all if you're tired of talking to me. What else should folks take away from today's show, right, that they should walk away from here knowing about?
Let's talk together, Tim. We'll say every other word. How about that?
Right now. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
No, you go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
All right. So while Ramesh is thinking of a clever answer, so I mean, for me, really, it's just I just want to encourage people. I've said it a million times just over the last 20 or 30 minutes. I just really want to encourage people to install and use the 2026 products. I mean, I think Rocco, you already mentioned people are already paying for it with your subscription. So it's just a really easy way to take advantage of some really amazing new tools. And I mean, even if it takes you a while to get into those new tools, the performance enhancements alone are well worth the upgrade. So, I mean, I completely understand that folks have like project requirements that sometimes you have to stick with an existing legacy version of Civil 3D. But if you have the chance, I mean, use 2026. It's going to make for a much better experience for you. So that's all I got.
Perfect, man. From my side, ditto. That's it. Tim did a fantastic job. I say the same thing. At least one of them is definitely use the latest one. You already paid for it, like especially from Recap Pro perspective, it's part of the collections. It's funny, in Autodesk, any collections you own, actually Recap Pro is part of that. So you already have the access to it. You don't have to struggle with your point clouds and large data. We are really trying to make that process easier. Help us on board with us so that we can actually pave the future together. On top of it, like I said, the big change, the transformational workflows and stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing process. So you are actually in the middle of this transformational workflows, both on Civil 3D and Recap, I would say, the civil infrastructure. We're doing a lot of stuff. If you're going to wait for 3 or 4 years to catch up on things, then you have to catch up on all those things cumulatively. These initial updates and the global launch and the .1 release helps you get to there slower, smoother, faster, and makes it easier for you to onboard it. And Recap, exactly, the segmented mesh workflows and the cloud-based workflows are taking you to the next level. Please help us. Let's help each other to get where we want to in the next 5 years.
There you go. And I will piggyback onto that what both Tim and Ramesh said, which is that part of the upgrade path, I will say, since Autodesk moved to the subscription-based model, I have to give credit. The one thing that stopped happening, used to happen, like you said, 20 years ago, you'd occasionally run it, but they never break what's already working. The subscription works, right? So the idea that like, hey, I've got this version, I'm working on this version, and I don't want to mess it up, you don't. All you do is it gets better, faster, and easier, and then you get some more new tools that you can take the time to learn and become comfortable with. I always make the upgrades. I strongly recommend it across the boards. So, and
then just to make it even easier, so one thing I forgot to mention that is probably like question number one whenever we come out with a new version of Civil 3D, no DWG format change. So it's the same drawing format between 2018 and 2026. So again, that's another thing that just bonkers to me, is that like it's the same format, so it's pretty easy to go from one version to the other. So we're just trying to give you fewer and fewer excuses to stay on an old version.
There you go. Make it simple, and then people will come. All right, folks. And with that, we're going to call it a day here. But I want to remind everybody, keep an ear open, right? Both Ramesh and Tim are going to be coming back on the show soon with episodes of their very own, where we're going to get into a lot more detail on their respective products for 2026. And before we go, I also just want to take a minute to thank both of our guests for being here with us one more time. Guys, it's always a pleasure to have you both on. We appreciate taking the time out of your busy day to be here.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right. We're going to get out of here, and we'll catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net. Or you could even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.